Uh-oh.
And we're live.
We're live. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning. How are you?
I got a brand new setup here. Well, not brand new, but I've adjusted my setup here at the house.
Okay.
And I got a new camera, and so I'm loving it. I'm like
nice
out over here with all my
I like
stuff.
the colors.
The colors. We got the blue going on, and then we got all the beautiful people out there in the Omniverse. So what's up, folks? What's up, tribe members? Good morning. Let us know where you're at. Of course, if you are a first timer, drop a blue heart in the comments so we can jump all over you and show you some love. We're live streaming on the LinkedIn, the YouTube, the Facebook, and the Twitter.
Whoa, that's a lot.
Yeah, no,
I didn't know all that.
We're getting popular over here. Look at that. We already got somebody jumping in. Troublemakers unite.
Oh, yay. We're going to have some fun today.
He said, don't get me in trouble today. Well, Jim, it won't be me. It's going to be Jen that gets you in trouble. I'm innocent. And then we got Mr. Adam Hoots. He brought him a relationship with us two crazies. That's tremendous value.
That is true. That's the dynamic of the three of us kind of social media fostered that.
Well, and speaking of social media, weren't the two of you together doing some social media shenanigans?
We were doing some stuff this week in I'm going to say Carolina, because we were in South Carolina. They went to North Carolina. We were at Northwestern Carolina University, laying foundations with Walker and Davis, kind of helped with Justin. And we had a group of people that helped us go in and really talk to a group of students that were planning on coming into the construction industry, and help them, kind of told some stories, real life stuff, what to be prepared for, but also some things that maybe they don't learn in college, just some of those soft skill things, mental health things, work-life balance, like things that we don't really talk to about people before they come into this industry. So we had an amazing conversation.
Yeah, and so I heard that this guy was the one who picked
up. He was on fire. First of all, Justin, you were amazing. One, thanks for the connection. And two, he was like the guy that was like, Davis would like pose a question to the panel, and then Justin's like, well, hey, what about y'all? And he would like get the audience engaged and get the students talking and stuff. So he did amazing.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and what I particularly remember, whoa, hang on a second. What's going on here? What I remember is like in the planning phases of everything. Do you have feedback on your end?
You got a lot going on over there, Jesse.
Uh-oh. Let's come back over here. Let's do this. All right, there we go. Sorry, y'all.
That's okay.
But Justin was like ultra communicative, checking in, following up with the campus. And so, Justin, shout out to you, Big Dog, for making that bad boy happen. Yes. I missed it, but I'm glad y'all were there. I caught little bits and pieces on the replay, and I intend to go back and catch some more of it because I heard my name was mentioned, and I like when I hear my
a couple times. Adam was like giving you lots of love.
Yes, they love me. They really love me. Who else we got out there? Oh, you know this person?
Well, yes, and it's ironic that he's on today. We had a conversation about this. So if you follow me on LinkedIn, I did a post earlier this week because Brian had knee surgery on Wednesday morning. And normally Saturday mornings are soccer mornings. Like he's usually out doing soccer, and that knee surgery's kind of put him having to rest a little bit. And so we had a conversation yesterday, and he's like, I'm going to try to jump on in the morning because I'm not going to be at soccer. So thanks, Brian.
Nice. What's going on, Brian? Good to see you, my man. And I'm wishing you a super speedy recovery because that would be awesome. Yes. But I appreciate you being here. So, Jim, what are we talking about today?
Social media. And I think if you heard the pop-up yesterday, you got a little bit of glimpse of this. So you and I were talking about what this live stream was going to be about. And normally that comes from the after party. So normally, because of the conversations that happen after this live stream, we like glean, different nuggets of where people are struggling or some things that we need to talk about. And then we use that for our next topic. But 2 weeks ago, we were at the cabin, and so we weren't part of the after party. And so we kind of started brainstorming and, okay, what about this? And this has popped up in some conversations. And then you went, oh, well, all of that really has a lot to do with how we show up and how we like share ourselves and what that looks like. And then how we're connecting to people. And he's like, oh, we'll just call it social media etiquette. So we'll get people to pop in to go, oh, we're going to get the top 10 list of the best things you can do to get 100,000 likes on social media. And it's really not that.
Yeah, it is not that at all. That was, what do they call it? Clickbait. But because we were talking about how we show up and the things that we do and some of the dynamics that we get to observe amongst the tribe. And then we like zoom out from there, different people do it differently and companies have an impact on that. And, it's a social platform, but not really. You kind of got to be careful depending on where so it's kind of messy.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm excited about is we're going to be talking about like you, me, the tribe. We got questions for y'all out there. How you think about social media? What do you get out of it? Etc. And also companies, right? Like they have a big impact on the way people aren't not necessarily consuming, right? Because you can always be a lurker. Lurkers, I love you because we need you.
Yes, we do. You have to start somewhere.
Yep. But in terms of people contributing and sharing their experience and their ideas and their thoughts, there's a real hazard for some, or maybe perceived. I don't know if it's perceived.
Right.
I think in some cases it's real,
right?
Because the way managers respond. And so we're going to get into like all of that stuff.
Some sticky stuff.
Yes. And hang in there, y'all, because the top 10 list, we are going to be revealing my top 10 and Jen's top 10 rules for exceptional social media etiquette, right?
100%.
PowerPoint slide and everything. Okay, so we're gonna get into that, but we gotta show some love. We got people showing up in the comments. We got Mr. Buddy Brumley coming.
Good morning.
What's up, buddy? The audio actor.
Yes.
And Mr. James Gable coming in from Colorado, who took over. He hosted the after party after the last live stream on Zoom with the team.
Yeah, so love for him for that, but also this past week, he kind of reshared some social media uncommon communicator stuff that he'd done with you, and I thought that some of the stuff y'all talked about with the starfish and all that, he kind of threw some stuff out there this week, so that was awesome.
Yeah, he did. James, thank you very much for always supporting and contributing. And yeah, that starfish thing, it's a big deal. For me, right? That's what gives me fulfillment. That's what brings value to my life is throwing starfish back into the ocean. And then Mr.
Good morning, Will Sullivan. So if you don't follow Will, you need to, because everything we're talking about today, he like lives it and just how he shows up and what he shares and stuff we're going to talk about. So if you don't follow Aspiring Better Human and Will Sullivan, like you are missing out because he is out there doing some amazing things.
Yes. And I also gave him a shout out with links on my monthly newsletter.
Nice.
If you can't find them, hit up the newsletter, click the link, do the follow, all the magic stuff. James Gable showing some love to Mr. Carroll.
Truth. We do not need Jake Carroll to change. There's people out there that are doing things not inside this little box, and we need more people not inside this little box. So Jake Carroll, do not change.
I'm not sure whose list that one is on. But
that's mine. I'm taking that one.
That's on yours. Hashtag I said it. It's mine. So we got Bruce. What up, Bruce? AKA Troublemaker coming in from the NYC. What's up, big dog? We got Mr. Terry Proffer coming in from Richland Hills. He says,
love it. You own it. That is yours. Now, Terry, hashtag lurking is yours. Love it.
That's his. And look at that. Mr. Will, Aspiring Better Humans coming in from Brazil. Oh, my favorite word. What's your favorite Brazilian word, Jen?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. I'll pick one for you. Abacaxi.
Carnival.
There you go. I think that counts. Mine is abacaxi, which is pineapple.
Oh,
I just think
okay.
it's a super cool word.
Nice.
I'm not exactly sure how it connects, but anyhow, love you, Will. Thanks for being there. And then Justin says, shout out to James for the after party last week. It was fine. And they had video. Right? So
Yes.
everybody got to see each other where normally we're audio. Folks, we do have the after party. It's going to be after this live stream. The link to that, I'll end up posting it on all the other socials. But right now on LinkedIn, it's in the No BS page and it's on my personal page. Click the thing, 9:20, we'll start and we'll get to learn more from you guys and get back in the group.
Yes.
So, folks, again, if you're out there in the Omniverse, leave us a comment. Let us know that you're there. Otherwise, we don't know that you're there. And if you're lurking, keep lurking, baby, because we're going to have some fun today.
Yes.
So, social media etiquette, Jennifer, and maybe Will can answer this question. Where does videos of topless authors on a balance board in the water, where does that fall in terms of social media etiquette?
I think people are scared to go in that direction, but it does. So it does bring me to something that I read about on social media, and it brings me back to this conversation a little bit. So I follow I don't remember her name, but I think it's Nextcore, but she had posted a post about I read it, and it was about her talking to or getting connected with someone who's like a social media coach, and they got how to help you get 100,000 likes and all the make $1 million, those kind of people. And again, they may be able to do those things. That's just not the place. That's not the world I live in. So she got connected with one of those. And her post was about, and again, I follow her because she's got really good content, like really good nuggets and little things to think about when you're investing or different things like that. And she's like, one of the things that they told her is to how to get more likes is you need to show more skin. And I was just reading that, and I was like that. That's what I'm saying. Stop. but it made me. I mean, it was an amazing post. And she was like, going, but like my content, it didn't connect. But that was like the top 10 list. And this is what you need to do to be able to get more likes. And then it got me thinking, okay, but what is your goal and what is your purpose? If your purpose is to get 100,000 likes, then obviously that may be something you need to think about. But then it got me thinking but then how does that connect to purpose? And so it's like, what is this list? Like, are you following a list because this will get you a number or get you a result? But do you stop and go, okay, but what is my purpose? Because you and I talk about this all the time. Like, if we can impact one life, one person, something we're doing creates a ripple effect, that one person makes a different decision, one person shows up differently, like we are winning.
Yes.
That doesn't mean we have 100 people that like our content. So I want to throw that out for the conversation and your thoughts on that, because it does go back to, if I show a little more skin, I'm going to get more people engaged with my stuff. But what's the purpose?
Yes. I think that's totally an important thing to think about. And I love the way you bring it back to like No BS with Jen and Jess, right? We didn't start No BS with Jen and Jess because we said, hey, let's go get a following. Well,
we didn't even know we needed a place for people.
Exactly. So we started with the 5S Love Letter live streams. And that turned into No BS with Jen and Jess because we discovered this amazing community that includes Miss Rachel Boyd. Good morning, Rachel. And folks started signaling like, hey, we want to continue having this conversation. And the interesting thing was, like, I could see, I like to look at all the stats and stuff.
Yes.
And I could see that we were having interaction, right? People were watching. The comments and the likes and the shares and all of that were not reflective of the number of people that were taking in the content. And so then it was this thing like, okay, in fact, for me personally, it's like, okay, are we just in an echo chamber talking to each other, patting ourselves on the back, or are we having some impact on people? And like after the live streams, you would get texts, I would get texts, I would get a call, and it's like, oh my God, we're actually contributing some value, meaningful experience to folks. So we got to continue doing this. And I think that really speaks to the purpose that you're talking about is like, yeah, there's a lot of strategies to get a bunch of followers. And that might be touched on the top 10 list, but we'll get back to that. There's a lot of things you can do that, but what is like if you want to grow followers and grow reach, there are things to do. If you want to connect with the right people, there's a way to do that.
Yes.
Right. And I know, I don't know about, or maybe I'm going to ask you, Jim, but I know for me, I've had a few people along the way that have reached out to me. Hey, I see you got a YouTube channel. You're on social media, even people in our industry. And like, hey, man, let me give you some feedback, because if you did this, it would have more whatever, right? If you do these things, and I'm like, awesome, thank you for that. But that's not what I'm trying to do. And so what I'm speaking about specifically is my energy and the way I show up, the kind of fun I like to have, the silly goofiness that I do, the topless videos that I do, or done. I haven't done one in a long time. I think it's about time I do.
No, we're good. Go ahead.
But like that, the effect that has is it attracts people that appreciate my style, and it repels people that don't.
Yes.
And for me, that is ultimate value. Where are you on that thought, Miss Jenna?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I think what you said something, and then I'll transition into my thoughts, but you say what attracts and what repels. And I think just human nature, sometimes we try to cater the things we say and do because in our minds, like we want to reach people, not even having defined what that customer looks like, what that customer needs. We just go, we don't want people to judge us. We don't want people to, here's my shirt.
Don't judge what you don't understand.
But we don't want people to judge. We don't want people to come and, and say something. So we try to manipulate it, and we cater it to where we're making sure we're not making somebody mad, or we're not. And like, that's human nature, because, no one likes to get attacked except like Jake Harrell.
Yeah.
Other than Jake.
Right.
No one likes to get attacked. And so we change what we're doing, not even having identified who our customer is. And I mean, most people can relate to, our goal is bringing value to the customer. And I think early on, you and I, as we were doing all our master planning and all of our, everything that we were going to do and talk about, we just kept coming back to, like, there are people out there that are going to go, what are these two hooligans doing? And we were like, and that's okay. And as soon as we got like to the point to where we're not going to reach everybody, we're not going to impact everybody, and we are not for everybody, because there are people that live in these boxes sometimes that are like, oh, that's not kosher. That's not whatever it is. And once we got to like, okay, then it allowed us to not feel like we were constrained by anything. Mm-hmm. And so that will then transition to, I guess, the way that I approach that. I mean, I don't have a list anywhere that said, do Grinch videos, or, hey, the best way to market your book is to have the Grinch go to Hawaii and like take pictures of it and run around. I mean, I haven't seen any top 10 lists that identified that yet. The feedback we got was like, it was just cool and it was fun. And like, that's what we were looking for. So it's, and Chewy. So see, Brad's been lurking, because look, he hasn't even been on here, but he knows about Chewy. So, I mean, but like, there's no list that say, Jesse, dress up, or Jesse, make sure you have your nice tie and suit on, and make sure you're professional. Like there are things out there that there's nothing that says that, yet that is where our connections have been.
Yes.
So that to me is a big deal, because as we keep doing things, and you said this morning, which I thank you for it. You said there are crazy people out there that are just really good at making crazy ideas happen and putting them into the world. And the two of us do that a lot. But if you're creating things and doing things for the first time, or doing things that no one else has done, there's not going to be a dang list. There's just not.
There isn't, because it doesn't exist. except for my top 10 list. That does exist. And so, folks, I'm going to hit you a response back to you,
Okay.
Jen. I'm going to pose a question to the Omniverse.
Yes.
What are some stinky social media experiences you have had? So, folks, drop that in the comments. Let us know. Also, I think you already know, but just in case, your thoughts, your observations, your cheat codes, share them because we're all learning together.
Yes.
But you talked about, so Jake, I love Jake, right? Like, he's my boy. I love his style. He absolutely has a strategy, right? And it's not one that I would subscribe to. And then if you contrast that with Will's strategy, or maybe we'll call it a style, right? Because strategy,
absolutely,
right? Will, with Aspiring Better Human, is 100% positive, right? It's all about people. It's all about community. It's all about joy. And that is amazing, right? Like, it is inspiring
every time,
all the time. Jake has a penchant for conflict and controversy.
Yes, absolutely.
And guess what, man? His stuff like blows up all the time.
Yes.
And so those are pretty good examples of like extremes on terms of like controversial content and positive upbeat content. Both work. And like I'm not going to say one is wrong because I consume both. I enjoy both. But I also know that I can't do like I kind of float back and forth. I don't really like personally. I don't want to post controversial stuff because I'm not a very, very controversial guy. And also because, you know, if I'm gonna fight about something, we're gonna fight. I'm not a keyboard warrior. Let's go see each other. And I know that about me. So I don't even like play in that realm because I like to have fun. I like to be relaxed. But when it's time to fight, baby, we can put it on.
Yeah.
Right? Like, win or lose, both of us are going to be hurting at the end of the engagement. We'll just leave it there. So again, pointing out those two contrasts, I know that Jake doesn't mean any disrespect. Nope. He doesn't mean to undermine or devalue people. It's his style of getting engagement and starting a conversation and this sort of thing. So for me, that qualifies because I got to know him. If I didn't know him, I think he's a big ass jerk. Right? Like, I mean, that's kind of maybe one of the things to consider is people won't take the time to get to know you, and whatever you're posting out there leaves a mark and helps people make a conclusion about you and what you're all about and stuff. So you know what? There's some people popping in that I need to
Yes.
So we got Miss Cindy.
Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning, Cindy. We got to hang out with her at the Reciprocal Propulsion Retreat.
Yes.
I hope you've recovered well, Miss Cindy. And then we got Aaron Gibson coming in from Canada. What's up, brother? Y'all, speaking about positivity and mental wellness, right? Aaron is one of those people. You gotta connect with them. He's like a live stream producer now. He's got all connected all over the place. And again, I think it's because of the way he shows up. It's his positivity and the way he does things.
And it's different. He just had a birthday. So if you didn't wish him a happy birthday, go let him know that he just got through having a birthday this week.
Oh yeah, let's give him some happy birthday love.
Yes.
And then Bradley, I missed it, Bradley, but I heard that you lit it up in the after party last time. So thank you for doing that. He's coming in from Reno. And so Bradley shared something. He says, I don't ingratiate myself with y'all because I need some industry specific insight. The stuff that gets discussed in this forum impacts my approach to my everybody. The double meaning of disgust me, but rest assured all of y'all have more followers than what shows up in a statistical analysis. Dang, thank you. Thank you for that, Brad. I feel fancy now. So Jen, I mean, while folks are like, it's interesting to me that we don't have a lot of responses about a stinky social media experience yet. I have an
Okay.
idea as to
Okay.
why that might be.
Okay.
But I want to know from you, like, what kind of stinky social media experiences have you had?
Mine specifically, and it's interesting because I'm just going to say I don't have a lot of them. And so, and that's not typical. And I don't know if it's how I show up or that somehow they just weed out because they just don't want to, they're kind of scared of being in my space. I don't know what that means, but the most of my stinky stuff has been, I'm going to say more when I engage with people, like, and this is kind of a weird way, but I don't get a lot of stinky stuff on social media on my content. So I'm just going to be clear. Now it'll probably blow up after this because AI will go, oh, we need to add more stinky stuff to Jennifer's content. But right now I haven't had any. But my experience has been people that have reached out to me in private chats and things not public that were like, this is what I'm dealing with. And these are things that I'm running into, Jennifer. How do you manage that? How do you deal with that? And a big one has been, how does Robbins and Morton engage and support everything you're doing? Because I work for a very big firm that, is national, and we have, marketing and communications internally. And I have a role within that firm, but I also have a big presence outside of that firm. And for me, it's great because they feed each other.
Yes.
And it helps bring people to Robbins and Morton, but it also helps get Robbins and Morton's name out there. So for me, it makes complete sense. But most of the conversations I've had is not everyone is in that space, and they work for firms, or they're scared that if they put something personal out there, and again, y'all do it every other Saturday morning, and it blows us away of just the vulnerability that people show. Specifically on this show with us, sometimes out there on their posts, but that their fear of retribution, or their fear of someone coming in and seeing something they wrote and then using that against them. Things, like a lot of that, there's a lot of people that even if it hasn't happened to them yet, it's what keeps them from posting. It's what keeps them from sharing. And that's what they say. And then so their questions are, how did you get support, or how do you know you're not going to make somebody mad, or things like that. So that's the experience I've had.
Yes. And I think that's what keeps people lurking, right? Because the lurkers are Maria's favorite. I personally haven't had like a stinky experience that shifted my thinking or approach. Mm-hmm. But what I have had is precisely two folks, tribe members, that were participating in the No BS live stream, sharing a thought or an idea or a feeling. And shortly after that, within days, somebody at their company, at their office, I'm going to say overreacted, mm-hmm. right? And kind of got all up in it. And then it was like, how do you know that? Oh, well, I saw it on LinkedIn. And then it's like, whoa, right? And that's terrified them.
Yes.
So much so that one kind of disappeared. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm probably going to be there, but I'm not going to comment anymore because I don't need that.
Yep.
The other one still involved, still very active, but very similar experience. There was an issue they shared. The company a family member worked for responded to it in a less than supportive manner. Yes. Right? I don't know all the details, except that their response signaled to these people that they need to be careful.
Yep.
Right. And which to me is ridiculous. I think it's human to ask a question, hey, I saw this thing, you posted mm-hmm. this or whatever, and I'm curious or I'm concerned, I want to help. I think that's fair. Mm-hmm. However, you work together every day, stupid. Right. I don't know how to say it any simpler. Clearly, you don't have connection with your people if the only way you're getting this type of really important information about how your people feel is through social media.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Like, yes, because it reminds me of our. I'm going to bring it back around without trying to sell it, but our emotional bungee jumping stuff. It reminds me of that because if you are getting information for the first time and you're hearing it and it is someone else's thoughts, feelings, opinions, and you take offense to it because it is about you, then you have got it all mixed up. You have got it all wrong. If someone's out there voicing something that you didn't even know about, your thought should be, what the heck am I doing wrong that they don't feel safe enough or have a place to be able to share these thoughts in a work environment?
Yes.
And again, some things are not work related. That's okay, because we talk about this all the time, that if we expect people to have their life, their family, their issues, their concerns, their mental health, all of these things while they're at home, and then they show up at work, put the human hat off, put the hard hat on, walk through the gate, we are mistaken. We are mistaken 1,000% that we think they can do that. And so if we don't create a space inside work to be able to allow people to voice some of their concerns, and then we hear about it and then get mad or attack or call them out on it, like, that's not their problem. That's our problem.
Yes. Yes. And so 2 points. One, all the tribe members, they're all ballers, right? Meaning
Yes.
they're all leaders of change. They all have tremendous influence in their workspace, in their communities, in their homes. And if you're not aware of what we're talking about, maybe we're talking to you. I mean, because really, when I used to manage people, and like I said on the pop-up yesterday, I have like a phenomenal boss now. But back when I used to manage people, I was not the greatest boss. And my response to things, even though like I really meant well, the way I responded signaled to them like they need to stop that behavior. And why? Because I didn't have that connection with them. So that's one important point. And so again, for folks out there, you manage teams, you lead people, etc. Like be aware. I'll just say it that way. Be aware of how your energy impacts other people. And I'll tell you right now, if you have like low frequency of connection with people, they don't know you very well.
Mm-hmm.
What they know is your authority and your title.
Mm-hmm.
And so whatever you say is going to have it's going to have a heavier feeling with it because of your title and your position. And so saying that's not what I mean doesn't count. That doesn't help you. What you need to do is have more contact with be more human, hang out with these people, maybe not hang out, but be vulnerable with them. There's this whole vulnerability thing that, some folks are talking about. Help them understand that you're human too. And the weight of your words becomes lifted because they understand you as a human being. Is that fair?
100%.
Right. So I'm not accusing, like, don't say anything. Like, yeah, if you have a concern, hey, man, I just learned this and my bad that I haven't created the space that you feel comfortable enough to come and share with me. Mm-hmm. But I saw it on whatever, LinkedIn, and I need to understand this. How can I better serve you? Right. There's a whole lot of vulnerability in that communication there. Miss Rachel says her boss is amazing.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna trust you on that one, Miss Rachel. Now, the other point I wanted to make about this thing where people respond cattywampus is that's what drove the creation of emotional bungee jumpers, right? So how do we get because we talk about vulnerability all the damn time. I get it. I've got decades of practice. Like, and what I mean by that, I was in like, that was like 2 or 3 years showing up and not being vulnerable, right. Like the first half. And then I started practicing little by little, getting more and more vulnerable. And there's also the private social media element to it where only people that are part of that community can contribute and receive from it. It's like, it's not out on the interwebs or in the omniverse. So that's an important point. Like, how do we create our communities, because everybody has the ability to do
Yep.
this, so that it's kind of like the after party, right? It's a little smaller, it's a lot more intimate, and it's not recorded, and we have a lot, the communication or the conversations that we have are really deep and intense. And so then that, for me, the question always is, how do we replicate that? This downside of us doing these things that are less visible is, I feel like companies, managers, leaders need an example to follow, because they just don't know how. What do you think about that, Jennifer?
Well, and I agree. And I think in vulnerability on your top 10 list somewhere, I can't remember.
Oh yeah, the top, Jen. That's coming.
I just want to make sure. So
yeah.
I think vulnerability is in there somewhere. But it made me, when you were talking, it triggered. You and I have had a conversation because I've been on LinkedIn for a while, but within the last 2 years happens to be when you and I connected. I don't know why that is correlated, but you made a point to say, like, we were connected, but like something shifted. And then the way I posted, or the things I posted about, was different. And it's kind of what drew you into, introducing yourself and us connecting. And it was the vulnerability piece. It was the pulling back the curtain, because for a while it was just, I would show up and it was still me, but it was not like my kids, and it wasn't my struggles. And I think we get so caught up, and I posted on it yesterday, we get so caught up on the beautiful, we got to make sure it's shiny and all of these wonderful things, because then people can see that we're credible and we're valuable and we can contribute. And we get so caught up in that world sometimes that we forget that finished product, that building, that paper, whatever it is, that finished product was not beautiful throughout the process. Like, it was stinky and there were some fails and things like that. But we so want to make sure that people can see and recognize this amazing end product being us today. And there's a lot of crap that had to happen for us to even be in the space we are right now, being able to share some of these things. And our minds and the way we approach things, Jesse, is we've got to talk about all that other stuff. Yes. And when we try to, I'm gonna say, behind the curtains, hide it, try to, sometimes I'm gonna call it smoke and mirrors, because that's what I say. I can see it, I can read a post and immediately go, there's a lot of filters on that post, there's a lot of things on there, and that does not connect with me. There may be people that get it, but we get so caught up on the perception and what people are going to see and what they're going to judge and say. And you're either going to live in that world or you're not. And it's to me, that discomfort zone, being able to get outside of that. I'm safe, I'm protected. And then what's outside of that. And sometimes Jesse just pushes you over the edge.
Well, so Rachel, yes, vulnerability, the V word, it's an intimidating word. It elicits a response from people. And I think that's important. And, speaking of the polish and all this stuff, Miss Maria Martin says quality over quantity. Yes. Now, I don't do that. I don't think that's a secret, right? For me, it's quantity so that I can figure out the appropriate quality.
Ooh, tell me more. Tell me more.
So if I get all hung up on the polish or filters, like the beautiful filter I had on yesterday, that you made me take off. And Brian, by the way, says you stink because you made me take the filter off today. If I get caught up on the quality of what it's going to be, I might put out 1 or 2 pieces of content. Quantity helps me understand what's resonating with people, and more importantly, helps me understand, I torture you and Adam with this all the time. I have an idea, and in my head, it's super clear. And then when it comes out of my mouth, it's not freaking clear at all to anybody. But I put it out there. You ask questions, Adam asked what we should, and then I shared a little bit more. And what I'm mentioning is getting that out, the quantity, the volume of times that I put it out there helps me refine and make sure that I am reaching my objective in terms of what I am trying to communicate. And so if I was getting caught up in quality, I got to get it out. Like, and I'm not saying this is the way. What I'm saying is this is my way.
But yes, and I love it because I think what I've realized, and Aaron Gibson's another one, Will's another one, that put, that do quantity. But what I've observed watching even people that engage with their content and with yours is it also, by you doing the amount that you do, it weeds out all those other people that are like, this is too much for me, or this is not what I want. They'll just kind of they'll get out of the way.
Yes.
And that's what I've observed following, even the three of you, and just like that, those are places I want to be. But I've also, you can see where people maybe were, trying to poke and, not be very nice. But then now those people are like, no, this is too much for me. Yes.
Yeah, they moved on. So Brian says he has a lot of social media pushback from Dallas Cowboys memes. It's always fun, but from time to time, someone does go over the top. Yes,
it's personal. They take it personal.
It's what it is. Now, Bradley, I think he's got a copy of my top 10 list.
That is on there, I think.
Just don't be a FAP. #FAP. You got to be good, right? Don't be a fake person. And thank you, Brad. Like for real. That's one thing I really appreciate about you, Bradley, is right out of the gate, first contact. He was totally authentic.
He like tore it all off.
Yeah, like he just came. And I'll say this, like the more authentic I am, the more comfortable I have to, the more comfortable I have to be with being exposed and being vulnerable. And the connections that I make with people are far deeper than they used to be when I was trying to put on the mask or the mascara. Maria asked me the other day about my eyeliner game. That's on the top 10 list. That'll come out later.
Well, and I want to add, because yesterday I recorded a podcast with Tats, which was amazing. And he and one of the conversations that came up on just like the content and the stuff that you and I do, and continue to show up in the way we show up. And it got me, my response in that podcast, which you can go find once it publishes, is I learned this a long time ago. My daddy taught me this, and Brian will relate to this, is Daddy says, if you always show up and you always tell the truth, you don't have to remember what you said. And it's so simple. It's so simple that, but when you stop and think about that, at any point, if you're having a conversation and you embellish it a little bit, or you maybe twist the truth a little bit over here, or it really isn't something that happened, but in your, like, later on, you got to remember, okay, what did I tell that person? And what did I make? And then your brain is spending so much time trying to make sure that things are right, or that you don't get caught in a lot. I mean, like, then you're losing so much opportunity to be able to really connect and really put more things out there that, and I mean, it's just, to me, it's just way more effort than I'm willing to do. Is if I just show up and I tell the truth, and I'm honest, and the vulnerability and transparency and all that authentic stuff. That's authentic, is that on my list or yours?
That's on mine.
Oh, dang it. Okay. Hashtag. But when we show up and we just tell the truth, then we can just continue connecting to people and not having to like go back and make sure we read something that we left. And I say it a lot, but it's like that doesn't happen. Like, people, they got to put this smoke and mirrors, and they got to make sure that they're setting things up. And I don't have enough effort or energy for that.
Yes. Look at Aaron. So he's going to get us on a show here in the near future. Watch out, baby. He's coming on. So you said something like this, telling the truth. And we talk a lot about showing up, how you show up, how we show up. And so here's a question, I think, that's kind of formulating in my head right now. Does the way I show up tell the truth about who I am?
I think you and we need them to tell us, because I think we show up the same every time. Does that reflect on who we are, whether they met us in person or they continue to follow us.
Yes. So Omniverse out there. Some of y'all met us in person. Some of y'all spent weekends with us at a retreat, which, by the way, Cindy gives us a shout out. She feels more alive than ever. We filled the cup. Thank you for being like courageous and vulnerable with us, Cindy.
Yes.
But like, is there a difference? But from what you experience here on the live streams and all the stuff that we have out there, and what you've experienced with me, and Jen too, but more me, what you actually, the way we show up, are we telling the truth in the way that we show up about who we are? We got Vince coming in from the Deuce Time. He says, good morning. What's up, Vince? And so that was a great question, Jen. Aaron says, certain levels of vulnerability, your circle that knows your heart, full vulnerability. Your work, partial vulnerability. Those that are strangers, they have to earn your vulnerability. How do you feel about that?
Well, earn it again. I know why you're asking me this question. I live with armor on because and some of it's from hurts and things that have happened in my life. And some of it is that I've got to protect me. And that protection from the outside could look like armor. Like I am not letting you in. But from the inside, it's that I know what's important to me. I know the people that are important to me, and I know my purpose, and I know what I want to do. And if things penetrate into me, it can get me off the path. And so some of that armor is to allow those things to just bounce off and not be able to alter the direction that I'm going or where my focus is. So to me, the armor serves multiple purposes, but when there are people that I don't have relationships with, that I don't know, what the engagement, what the purpose of it is, or why it's there, or even what is it going to further, get me to my goal and purpose, or is it going to detract? If I don't know those things, they will not get 100% Jennifer. That doesn't mean that I'm being fake. I just don't give them the time that I would give someone that I already have a relationship with or that is important to me.
Fair. I think that makes you human. Brian says it might hurt at first, but honestly, it's always the easiest way to move through relationships in life.
Remember that. I'm going to capture this right here, Brian, whenever I'm giving you advice and you're telling me and you're like pushing back, I'm going to make sure I call that out right there.
Oh, it looked like we touched a nerve. We got tons of comments coming up. So let's go down those. And here's a question while you and I have this little conversation here. Folks out there in the Omniverse, what value does social media bring you? Like, what do you get out of it? Because I know I spend a lot of time on it or in it, but I do get value out of it, obviously, right? Because it turns out to be a phenomenal marketing tool. Now, but back to the fire that you just started. Bruce says, I think how you show up always tells the truth about you, but many people can't see the difference between what they think they are presenting, and what they actually do. You ever had that happen, Jen? It was like, wait a minute, that's not what how'd they get that? Like,
it usually happens when I'm like trying to do a presentation with you and we're trying to do all the editing and all this stuff. And there's a point where you go like, what are we talking about? And it's like, oh yeah. Let's stop. Because again, sometimes it's our, what we're trying to present, but we get so caught up on the visuals and the photos and the bullet points and we got to make all these, we get caught up in a lot of that stuff that, okay, did we just water down what we're trying to say? Because we're checking boxes so that we can make sure that it looks and it fits in the box of what a presentation. I mean, like that to me is a great example of you and I having gone through that multiple times. And then you're just like, I don't want any slides. I'm done.
Oh, you already know. What do you want on the presentation? Like, turn it off because I want everybody looking at me. I don't want them looking at the damn freaking giant screen. Like, I'm good. It's like brain activity. Like slide 1, slide 2, and there's like a four or five slides that I need to speak to. Like I just start turning off. Oh, here we go. Mr. Bruce Buxton. What's up, Bruce? He says selective vulnerability. Not sure.
Ooh.
Now, and I appreciate that deeply,
Yep.
Bruce, because I think rather my therapist told me, so it counts, and she's amazing. And in romantic relationships, one of the problems that I've experienced is when I meet people, I'm pretty damn vulnerable. Like all my stuff, all like there's nothing to hide. This is me. This is who I am. I'm pretty open. And most people don't start open. They start protected. And as time goes and they get the data inputs that they need to build trust, they start becoming more vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going this way. I start here.
Yes.
And when I see like, oh, you're guarded, you're still guarded, I start closing. And so by that time, the person in front of me gets comfortable with being more vulnerable with me. It's too late for me because I done closed you off because I came too vulnerable. And so the reason I really like Bruce's comment here is I agree. And I also haven't figured it out, right? Like when I am when I'm vulnerable and people aren't, I think it's unreasonable for me to expect people to be as vulnerable as I'm prepared to be. But if I was a little more responsible with my degree of vulnerability, I might not cut people off. Does that make sense?
It does, yes. And this makes me think about an example of me and how I show up does not mean that I show up closed off or vulnerable. I think the way I show up and care for human beings and engage with human beings and genuinely want to know what they think, what they say, that is how I show up. And it doesn't mean you're important to me, but you're not, or I don't care about your family, but I care about yours. To me, that's different than vulnerability. And so who I allow in and people that can see, I mean, they see everything on social media anyway, but there's people that are in my circle that get more. It doesn't mean that I show up different to other people because what you see is how I show up. And so I have a story, and I know I've shared it before, but like we have a guy, and he's amazing, Larry, who he does a lot of the stuff at our corporate office. So he does a lot of the maintenance, and he's everywhere. He's touching everything. And every time I go, I get him, I get to hug him. He gets to see the training classes I'm doing. A lot of times I'm on the screen. And so he gets to kind of walk through and see me showing up and how I show up and present to our company. And I saw him one day, and he's just like, Jennifer, you know what I've realized about you? And again, I don't have a personal relationship with him. I've not sat in a room with him and taught him anything, but I just engage with him. And he said, one thing I've realized about you, he goes, it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what you're doing. You show up exactly the same way. And that doesn't mean I'm vulnerable everywhere I go. But for me, that was like, it just melted my heart because that's my goal, is that I'm not picking and choosing who's important to me and who's not. Like everybody's important. And I want to make sure that is how I appear when I show up and I engage with people. And just that one comment from him let me know, I think I'm winning in some of that.
Doing good. You are doing good. 100%. So we got some good here. Look,
bring them.
I think you bribed them, but we're going to put it up here anyways. Justin says, I met Jennifer Lacey for the first time in person on Thursday. She's absolutely the same amazing person in real life. The authentic connection we've made on here made it feel like we've known each other for a lot longer than we have. Yeah, whatever.
I got a big hug too, which was awesome.
No, that's awesome. Thank you, Justin. And I'll agree. Like when Jennifer and I first connected, it was a light touch in person. But then from there, for a long period of time, it was mostly social media and the stuff that you posted, like the idea behind what you were posting came true when we it resonated when you were actually we were communicating and talking. So Cindy shares, it can be challenging to be yourself everywhere if you don't feel safe. Limited vulnerability is necessary for self-preservation. I agree. Do you agree?
I 100% agree. And I think sometimes too, it's how we view ourselves. And if we're not in a place where we're confident and we feel good about ourselves, we're absolutely not going to be able to show up and let people see what's inside of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, we can create the conditions. Rather, we are responsible for creating the conditions that I thrive in, and you are responsible, folks out there in the omniverse, for creating the conditions, identifying them, and then creating them that you best thrive in. Like, yes, there are unsafe places. Yes, there are horrible people, but we get to choose.
Yep.
Right now, that's not to say like right now make it happen. I think Justin and I had this conversation. We're talking about the conditions in my business and the way I live life now. And it's easy to think like I just decided I was going to do this. I've been working on this stuff for like 10 years, like doing things, figuring things out, adjusting, tweaking that led to this, or rather also helped me have a deeper understanding about the more appropriate tweaks to the conditions. So I know it's not easy, right? To like just I work with horrible people. I'm quitting. I'm going to go start a new career. It's not that easy, but there are things that we can do along the way to get clear about where we're headed. And I know for me, just knowing that there was a destination was enough to help me keep going and tolerate the garbage that I was in at the time. How does that
it does. And it's for me, it's the choice. It's always a choice. And guess what? People can't, I mean, even if you think they can't make that choice inside of you. You get to make that choice. You get to make the choice to engage. You get to make the choice that you can't always control how it affects you. But that doesn't mean that you have to react to all of those things.
Yes, we get to choose the way we're going to respond.
Yes.
Right? Like 100%. Man, we got some good stuff in here.
Bring it up. I want to see.
Time. All right, so here we go. Anything that has Jennifer's name in it, we're not going to read it because
that's not fair.
That we're past that part already. No, I'm joking. Here we go. So Bruce comes back and says, "That's what you're doing here, right? Working things out in public. In other words, practicing vulnerability. A great example for life off social media." The operative words right there is practicing vulnerability, right?
Yes.
Like it's folks, and you know what, James Gable, I'm gonna call you out because I know you don't like the word vulnerability. It's uncomfortable. Practice it, right? Be more, and here's the funny thing: like he really doesn't like him and his co-host. They slap back at freaking vulnerability. But they have a podcast that they put out content with their ideas, their opinions, their observations of the world. That is a demonstration of vulnerability.
100%. And if you don't follow them, like this week, I'm just going to tell y'all, I'm going to give them a shout out. They have a podcast titled Premature Elaboration.
Ooh.
And if you haven't listened to it, like it's next level. And I don't care if they say they do vulnerability or not. Like I listened to that thing and I had to go back and listen to it again because it's awesome.
I'm gonna check it out. Oh look, so now we're getting some like really valuable.
Gosh, just because it has your name in it.
James says he had a chance to meet me and Adam in person back when we were in Denver, and we caught up like old friends, and it proves the point that these connections are real. They can be. They totally can be. Let's see. So to the question of value, like what kind of value people are getting out of social media, Aaron says social media gives him the ability to let others know they are not alone and bring light to their world.
Yes.
Amen, my brother. Thank you for that. Miss Cindy says the value that social media brings is new ideas, perspectives, and opportunities to connect with like-minded people. So here's a question. I've had this conversation a lot recently. How awesome is it that we've been able to find crazies like that are our kind of crazy, Jen?
Well, we talk about it a lot just in conversations, but I'm telling you, like, just and many of you I've never met in person, but it doesn't matter because I feel like every day I have this posse around me.
Yes.
Like even if I'm on social media, if I'm not, it doesn't matter. It is implied that I have this posse around me that will protect me, that will call me out, that will push me, that will again, it's amazing. And like it, I don't even know if they know that, but I know that it changes the way that I can show up and I can do things because I know people got my back.
Yes. You know what I also like is when I talk to people, they're like, yeah, you and your crew. I'm like, what crew? And they start naming out all like, oh yeah, like, and it's interesting because like we have contact,
Yeah.
but the further, there's other people that we were connected to, but we don't have like a lot of but it looks like we're all like, hey, this week let's post it. Like,
yes,
anyways, it's super, super awesome.
When it's how we jump on each other and support each other and just a lot of that. I mean, it's magical because you can see it's the people that are in there and we're like, man, I needed this, but it's just the way it appears.
Yes. Bruce says tolerance and vulnerability are very important, but you can't underestimate the strength necessary for those concepts to be activated and practiced. Yes. So if you have a sign on the wall that says vulnerability, that ain't enough.
No.
Right? If it's on your website, that ain't enough. We've got to practice it. We've got to demonstrate it. And like use anchor on the word practice because it takes
repetition.
Reps. That's it, baby. Ian Smith says, I think you have a choice. He doesn't have Facebook or Twitter, but he does choose to post on LinkedIn. He's careful about his messaging, in my messaging, to be uplifting. Yes, I concur. I get to see that. We have enough negativity we hear, see, and feel. Choose to inspire and uplift and make somebody's day. 100%. And so there's some words in there, right? Some like responsibility, uplifting the negativity that's out there. And folks, I'm saying a lot of this because, again, in appreciation and love for the lurkers and all the other people that actively contribute. Like, I think I see, when we start, some people, they'll kind of tip their toe in the water. And over a period of time, folks that come in with the tribe, they start posting more. They start having their own posts. They start being supportive. And Tammy McConaughey yesterday, right? She posted about her journal. And in what I took from the post was that she was uncomfortable about posting that she has a journal out there. And this goes all the way back to the top of this conversation where you're talking about purpose.
Yes.
She said, I don't really want to post. I feel, or she didn't want to be salesy or something like that, right? When I read it, I immediately girl, I know, because yes, I have the same feelings. Now they're not as pronounced as they used to be, but yes, I feel that. However, how is the world going to know the awesomeness that you're putting out, that you have sitting on Amazon that nobody knows about?
Oh, and it's about gratitude. It's like everybody needs information. Everybody needs help with that. And I want to add that in her post, she tags me because of a post I did about taking my brother to the hospital for surgery, which is like, how does that even go together? But it's those ripples of impact that we are doing by just putting ourselves out there. We have no idea the people that are receiving it, even if they're not commenting and liking, and like just it was full circle. Just again, it was awesome.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. I got James stirred up. He sees, I think my relationship with the word vulnerability same as Adams with culture. Yeah. He wouldn't be here if he was completely ignoring the topic. I agree, James, and I appreciate the comment. I love this. Good. Y'all are freaking amazing. So Bruce Buxton also says, I really think the conversation that's happening about when to be vulnerable is the conversation. Vulnerability is hard because you are exposed. We do hard things. Right? Like gangsta.
When we think about hard, we don't think about vulnerability, authenticity, transparency. We don't think about though we don't use the word hard with those things. We work hard. We work hard. We're, the tactical, the stuff that makes us sweat, like that's where our brains go when it's hard.
Yes.
Like that's what we think about. But like that, he's 100% right.
He's all over it. So Aaron Gibson says the value to the question of like, what value you're getting out of social media, it can be used as a library to educate or motivate others. 100%.
Yes.
Like I consume the heck out of YouTube, especially when I have an idea or something that like, I'll just like take in that information, opposing views, different perceptions, different approaches, take it all in. And then I, do something with whatever that information is. Justin says social media is valuable because it allows him to connect with people who share the same mindset and struggles, but have different experiences, different regions, different companies, etc. There's so much that we can learn from each other that we really don't get without social media, right? Like for real, because here at home, I'm gonna surround myself with my people, right? Like my buddies that we've been friends since 6th grade. We're still friends. And
those accomplices
hasn't grown very much.
Those accomplices, yes.
Oh my goodness. So it is 9:06. So quick reminder, y'all, that we're gonna have the after party. We're going to have the after party on LinkedIn Live. I've posted the link on the YouTube and the Facebook. So folks, hit that link. It'll bring you to LinkedIn. We can hear each other, and hopefully we'll hear more of y'all than y'all will hear of us. And, this whole thing about vulnerability, getting uncomfortable or getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. We have a little experience lined up on Thursday, the 27th.
Yes.
We've got the Emotional Bungee Jumpers webinar for folks. So we're going to run the exercise, which is a small part, but a big part of the Emotional Bungee Jumpers experience. It's not going to be live streamed. You are going to be able to like participate in the webinar exactly like we're participating in this live stream. However, you've got to sign up. It's going to be exclusive. You sign up for the thing, boom, boom, you're going to be able to get into it. I'll figure out how to get a link in here, or y'all probably seen it. I've been posting a bunch about it, and I will be posting more this week. Armando, you, Jen, Adam, and myself are going to be doing it. And I'm going to tell you, like, I mean, maybe that's the question, Jen. Does that exercise elicit vulnerability?
It requires it. And it's, again, we've been doing this for about 1.5 years, and you brought me in, and the goal is to, big picture is to, how are we helping feed our leaders, or those potential leaders, to be able to have better conversations and build relationships. That's big picture. I said, but what I realized is also for me personally is when I came into conversations, I was guarded, and I also liked to direct the conversation. And so even if someone needed my feedback or asked me a question, in the way that I responded or in the way that I asked questions, I was directing the outcome. And again, a lot of us have done that. Sometimes you were teaching and we're coaching, but there's a lot of times where it's not our job to come up with the solution. It's not our job to come up with where they need to go. They just need people to help nudge them and get them to think about where they need to go. And this does that. And it has changed the way that I engage with people.
Bam. I love it. So Ian, man, this is a big question. Folks, share your thoughts because I have no idea. Ian asks, what does this look like for his kids' generation? And
I can answer that.
Come on, girl, talk to me.
So I have 12 and 14-year-olds, Ian. So you're not quite there, but I had to think about this specifically with my daughters and how I engage with them, but also how do they engage with people. And I get to watch and observe. And sometimes you're the parent and you have to go tell them, this is what's right and this is what's wrong. But I've also realized that there's a lot of things that have to do with kids at that age that have to do with relationships, whether it's friendships, whether it's significant others that they think are important, or they're not quite sure, or that somebody got their feelings hurt because of stuff like that. And so what I've realized is, and my 14-year-old daughter hates it, but she'll come and she'll voice a concern, or somebody did something to her, or she thinks that this person is whatever, it doesn't matter. And so our conversations are about, okay, so what are we going to do? What are you going to talk about? What are you going to ask? Well, Mom, no. It's going to be stinky and it's going to be uncomfortable. And it is not something that you may not like the outcome. You may not like the outcome of the conversation. But if you're the one that jumps in and gets uncomfortable and asks the questions, you're not sitting over here wondering and worrying about things that you don't even know. And it is a practice and a rep that has to happen all the time, because she was concerned about something, had to talk her up and give her some pointers on how do you start the conversation. And then she went and had the very uncomfortable conversation with someone and called them out on something to get feedback from them as to, is this real or not? And she walked away and I could see her just go, but she was empowered because she's the one that went in and felt like she had some tools that she could go in and not be the victim. And so that, for me, that has been both my girls. And as they're getting into these teenage years, they're going to have more conversations and more things that are hitting them. And if they feel like they can go into those uncomfortable conversations with some tools and some things that can help them, I'm telling you, the way that they grow and become adults is going to be different.
Oh, 100%. 100%. For me, I'll say that again, I don't have kids, but I spend a lot of time around people, and kids are people. An interesting thing, right? Email and text. When that happened, that created a lot of problems for me, because like for real, even today, the words, like the black letters, the ink, that's what I mean. All the blank space around those letters, please don't fill it with your insecurities and assumptions. Right? But that's what people do naturally. Mm-hmm. We start assigning tone to it. And so now this generation is like, that's their primary form of communication, feels like, or their venue for communicating, which is a lot of text, and I'm a teenager, hyper insecure. My body's changing. I'm stinky. I got hair in weird places. So like that just all like exponentially impacts what that experience is like. And where is the best source for clarity? The person that posted it.
Truth.
How do you go get clarity from that person? Go ask them. Like, it's not complicated. And I know the story that you were sharing. That's all you got to do. And if it's happening on social media, or it's happening like as a teenager or an adult, go ask, go call them. So Ian says, makes me wonder how genuine people can be hiding behind a keyboard. I worry for them. It's easy to say it in online and harder to do it to your face. Mm-hmm. Yes, Ian, right? Like, again, for me, it's the exact same dynamic in the professional space where somebody gets pissy and they start copy everybody, email the office, same thing. Except now it's like in our hands. I think that's what they're going through. And I agree. It is easy to go and flap my gums in a post, way easier than it is for me to go and get in somebody's face. Like that's an issue.
Yes.
So Jen, you took up so much time.
Of course I did.
That we're not going to be able to surface the top 10 tips.
We've had them. They've been throughout. You haven't been taking notes, James?
Tell them, like, we've went through them.
I think we even gave them like a couple bonus ones, like maybe 12 or something.
So he's saying that this is going on his top 10 list, clickbait titles. It's almost as if that was planned, Jen. So, folks, love y'all very much. It was an awesome conversation. Again, I feel like I don't know where we would have been, Jen, without the tribe contributing and making their adding. There's a lot of awesome conversation with Cindy and Justin in the chat. I was able to look at it a little bit more.
And a lot to have me tagged that you didn't want to bring up. So I'll have to go back.
You're breaking up, Jen. I can't hear you. But folks, big burly hug from Aaron for everybody, from us. And we're going to take about 5-minute break here. And then we'll be jumping on the after party. You are welcome to join. Closing thought, Jen?
Yes, it goes back to my daughter, one of them. There's a lot of times where I'm dealing with a lot of drama or emotion. And if I am not stopping and acknowledging that something created that, something caused that reaction, and I'm just going and attacking the reaction, then that's my fault. That's on me. And so it's the same on social media. If you see somebody that's put something out there that kind of rests with you, and maybe it kind of makes you not agree, just remember that something got them there. That something caused them to do, to be able to post that or to put something out there. So if you want to contribute and maybe help, put something out there. If not, just keep scrolling. Like, you don't have to touch everything.
Scroll on by, right? You pick your battles, baby. Let it ride.
Yes.
All right, y'all. Little break, and then we're going to be jumping on the after party. We'll see you next time.